All right, so today I've been working on this gas tank. I haven't really filmed any of it. I've been just kind of putting it in, taking it out, putting it in, taking it out. What I finally figured out was, A, where to position it. So I've got this tape here kind of outlining the bracket here. And then I started marking, you can see my marks up here. Those are for holes that are in the frame, so I'm trying to dodge those holes. So I ended up coming up with a bolt pattern that would work, which is basically 3, 6, and 9 inches from this edge here on both sides. Works. So what I did was I took the tank out, put it on the bench, and drilled those holes on both sides. So right now what I'm going to do is I am putting it back in here, and I'm going to mark for the holes. I've just got a spring-loaded center punch. I'm going to mark the holes in the frame so that I can take the tank back out yet again and drill the holes in the frame so that this thing will be ready. I also went and I ground on that cross member there. I'll show that when I get the tank back out, but I ground on it to get some clearance. So now I've got, it's about a quarter to 5/16 clearance up there, so that's plenty for the frame flex. I was just a little nervous. It was damn near touching the weld here and on the back side, so that's my own bad. I put that cross member in, the cross member for the panhard bar a little too tight, so just nothing the grinder couldn't fix. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and mark these holes in the frame, get this tank back out of here, and we'll pick back up then. So I got a little carried away here and ended up just drilling all the holes and putting it back in, and kind of got into a groove there, and I forgot to pick up the camera and record it. So one thing that I did figure out the hard way is this would be a lot easier to do if the bed wasn't on here, because getting to these bolts is impossible. So what I did, and I don't really like them hanging down like this, but at least I can see them better this way, is I just put the bolts in the frame rail, just dropping down, and then raise the tank up onto it. It's not as pretty as I like, but I'm not strong enough, bendy enough to get around the frame rail up there and get around to the back side there. There's no way. So it's in there. Everything fits up perfect. I mean, the holes ended up being perfect, which is, for me, is pretty good. Usually I have to slot one hole here or there, but we're good to go there. I went ahead and cut some gaskets out. This is actually just 1/8 inch thick rubber. We actually use these on our conveyor, so I have a bunch of it around. Honestly, I couldn't tell you much about it. We use it on what's called a skirt board to keep material on a conveyor belt, but just cut it down. So these are 2.5 inches wide, 11 inches long, and I put some oversized holes in there to allow for a little bit of movement. But so yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and put those in there real quick. The tank's just kind of loosely bolted in right now. It's got to come back out. I've got to do all the fuel fittings and the tank fittings. I got to put a supply and return on there, and then hook up my rollover vent and all that, and also got to drill the hole for the filler there. So now that I know where it's at, I can kind of line that out and cut the hole in the bed, which I know everybody's upset about, but this bed is, what do they call it, Line X or Rhino lined. So it's not the end of the world. If I don't like it, I can always weld it back in and have it relined, and nobody will ever know the difference. So anyway, again, I'm rambling. I tend to do that sometimes. So I'm going to make sure that these gaskets fit real quick, and then I'm going to see what else I can work on today since I have a little bit of time. All right, so I got the tanks all lined up. Everything's good to go. It's up there. I got the rubber gaskets in. Everything fits. So I just got to take it back out and do all the fittings, and I'm actually going to throw some paint on that cross member that I ground down. So I came up to the front. Well, actually, I spent about an hour cleaning. Everything was just a mess, so I cleaned just the shop. So that's why I didn't record anything. But I've started kind of thinking about wiring here. So I stripped down the entire wiring loom that I put in. Again, I changed paths, but this is the final one for sure. Stripped it all the way down up into over here. So what I'm going to do here is next to the battery, I'm going to have, that's going to mount actually on this face over here, that little 4-fuse station that is going to have 2 fuses for the fan, 1 for the fuel pump, and 1 for the headlights. So I had to run some trigger wires over here. So I've got both fans coming from the ECM. We got the blue and they got the green. I actually ran an extra wire over here, and I'm going to run this all the way back to the ECM. This is going to be for the fuel pump trigger. If I ever want to move it out here, it'll be into the loom already. So I'm just going to run that back here, and I'll just tuck that back in here. And this orange wire is actually part of the American Honor wire harness. This is a ignition on. So when you turn the ignition on, they use it for fans, for a trigger for fans. So I use this on my last setup to trigger the fans. All it does is supply 12 volts. So it's kind of I figured I'd leave it in there in case there's some sort of accessory down the road you want to add that needs ignition on off. So I'll just kind of, like I say, tuck that back there with this white wire, just for future purposes. If I ever decide to want to move that fuel pump relay out of the cab and out here, which I'm thinking I might have my buddy do that. So I'm going to leave enough wire so that he can work his magic and probably tuck that relay panel back in here somewhere. But that's a project for another day. But I just wanted to make sure that I had enough wires in here and in the loom so I didn't have any stray wires, because I can't stand wires just running everywhere. So I wanted to think this all the way through. So that is that. I've got all my wires set up here. These are going to go inside the cab for the ECM stuff. This is going back to the fuel level sender, and then this is for the pump for the power, and then all my wires for my fans and relays and stuff that I'm going to wire up. Then I got an extra roll of pink and orange, which I'll probably use with the Dakota stuff. But yeah, so I'm just going to run these wires. I did a test crimp with a crimper I bought on Amazon, and it was terrible. I'm cheap. You wouldn't think I am with some of the crazy things that I seem to get myself into, but it did a terrible job. So I'm going to actually see if I can't borrow. My neighbor's got the good Delphi crimper, or maybe just bite the bullet and buy one. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to run the wires through the bulkhead just to kind of keep it clean. So it's got some extra spots in there. So I'll have both the fans, and then this one here is that's the fuel pump relay. So it'll be nice and tidy run through there. And then I am going to connect all of my wires up here to down here and be done. So I'm actually I'm gonna buy, I need to buy it this week, a 12-pin connector, just so I can run all my wires down from the dash, run them down along the tunnel, and then have it pop up, and just have a connector down here, so everything's not butt joint, or what do they call those things, butt connectors. So I'll have a disconnection point. I don't really need it, but it's just kind of nice because I can crimp all the ends on, and just kind of a cleaner look. It's like $4. I found a guy on eBay who actually sells all the Delphi stuff. It looks like he's an overtired electronics guy, so he just sells these things, and I mean, they're cheap. You can buy for $4 or $5 a connector that has all of the terminals and everything. So that's kind of the plan. So I'm just going to kind of kick it up in high gear. Since I don't have a lot of time, I'm just trying to get as much done as possible. So I actually ran out of time today, but I'm hoping the next time I get together or get a video up, it's going to be wiring inside here, finishing up, trying to finish up wiring up there. I got to order and all that's, the terminal and the fuse block, and then connector and just some stuff down here, some extra terminals and stuff, so I can interface with the American Auto Wire kit, and just kind of get things going, get things done. So once I get that done, I can put the column back in, put the seat back in, put the interior back together, gauges in, and then all that's really left is fuel system and the transcooler lines, and it is ready to roll. There's not a whole lot. My list is pretty short now. So, but anyway, I do appreciate everybody watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to. Leave those nasty comments, because seem to be getting more and more of those these days. I don't know what those people's deal is, but good for them. So hey, at least they watched the video and they interacted. So, but anyway, I hope everybody liked it, and we will see you next time.